you go. All right, joining me now, Fox Business' David Asman, Walser Wealth Management President Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, now I consider you a longer-term value-type investor, very similar to Warren Buffett. It's worked out obviously pretty well for you. By the way, you made the top 20.
Thank you.
Yeah, you made the top 20 this year with Lamb Research.
Okay,
so
awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But your thoughts, on the Buffett legacy?
Well, I think that he's an indelible part of the Americana, and I'm not talking as if he's passed, but I mean he's been phenomenal, and I think that in this day and age of fast moving, he is a calm sense of calm and stability.
David?
In 1985, he gave another interview for PBS, and he was asked, what's the most important quality of an investor? He said, it's not the intellect. It's the temperament. It's the temperament.
True.
To go against the crowd,
yes,
you have to have
absolutely.
the right temperament. You can't freak out.
Yep.
You can't get too excited when you do well when other people, and don't rely on other investors to pat you on the back and say you're doing a good job.
Right.
Because if you follow the crowd, that's the road to failure, not success.
All behavioral finance is just becoming into the parlance,
Yeah, and then what's interesting is I feel like, we always talk about make America great, and as people say, we look back in the mirror as if things were great, but I do believe there was a difference, particularly with young people. I mean, 14 years old, he's investing already.
Yep.
Right now, I'm looking at this crisis, right? Young adults in America say they need $587,000 a year. That's what they consider success. That's what the Gen Z does. But at the same token, there's a new report out, David, that says they're not working as much, in part because they don't think they can make 587, right. So they have given up on it, which is the exact opposite of a Buffett.
My dad was born in 26. Buffett was born in 1930. They were both Depression babies. The Depression babies had a different attitude. They were willing to suck it up, to take the pain as long as it took to get a family. On the other hand, in favor of the Gen Zers or the Gen Xers, in 1954, when my dad moved to New Jersey, he had a house, he had 2 kids, he had a wife who didn't work, he had a car, and he had my grandfather who was living in the house.
Right.
You know how much he made that year? $3,500. And of course, there's been inflation.
Sure.
That would amount to $45,000. Imagine having all those things with $45,000 a year. You can't. So when they talk about affordability, they have a point. They have a point. They may not be working as hard as I was or my dad, but they have a point. There is an affordability problem. We've got to get out of that.
I look at that chart, Charles, and I just think inflation, because the Gen Xers like me still think $215,000 is good. But the new millennium basically say, oh, no, we need to make almost $600,000. Right. So that just tells you how much the value of a dollar has gone down.
Yeah.
So another part of this has been the way it's impacted society. We're in the middle of a fertility crisis because young folks are saying, hey, I can't afford to have kids. But there's an interesting new report that says the ultimate symbol now of status, at least, is a big, big family, right? So,
I love it.
And here's what was really amazing is this fertility thing is really driven as much by politics as money. 22% of liberal men have a kid, 25 to 30 and 35. 71% of conservative women. What is it, Rebecca, about conservatives that they still are saying, hey, we live in the same affordability bubble, but we still believe a family should come first?
Well, I think it's about your family values and your morals. And unfortunately, the education system, and I'm a very big part of it in this country, is very much about population control. We're overpopulating the earth. The earth won't be sustainable. And the people that are on the left and the think tanks really believe this, and they really discourage you from having children. And these people come out of these leftist, think tanks and think this way, and they don't believe it. Whereas on the conservative side, your values are family-based first. Let's get married. Let's have a family. Let's raise children. It's still a part of the American way of life.
Can I just say, my wife, who you know very well, came from an impoverished country. But even there, they have a saying, every kid comes with a loaf of bread under their arm. That is to say, don't worry about the money angle. It will take, if you're a hardworking person and you got a good family, you got a good spouse, you can make it work no matter what the situation is. I think it's the biggest regret in my life that I didn't have more kids. I've had 2 kids, but I wish I'd had 5 or 6 or 10.
Yeah. Wow. When I was growing up, one of my favorite shows was Bonanza, and I always wanted to have 4 sons, right?
All the cowboy hats.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I'm with you on that. And it's amazing how impoverished nations have so many more kids, and they see them as a gift from God. I saw my kids as gifts from God. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't have kids at a young age. But the flip side of this, another part of this, the loneliness crisis. I want to ask you guys about this because there's so many stories. One, the antisocial century. Also, I saw this great post where a bunch of kids are at an art museum, and this is great. I think it's a Caravaggio, maybe a Rembrandt in the background, but none of them are looking at it. They're all looking at their phones. Oh. Yeah. I mean, just what do you think?
Well, Steve Jobs, a connected disconnectedness. We're always together, but none of us are actually communicating because we're looking at our social media, we're on our phones, we're texting, we're on the apps. And so this connected disconnectedness.
Doesn't that make our world lonely?
It is. It's total loneliness, and it's constantly not living where you actually are and living for beyond where you are.
We got to get out of it somehow. And I think with kids, because now I got a couple of young grandkids, and we focus on reading with them. We focus on books whenever possible.
Beautiful.
We focus on books. And when they get into the teenage years, I told my daughter, do not give them a smartphone.
So true.
Do not.
So true.
There's a new report that says you got to do it after 13 if you do. There's a lot of pressure before 13 now. When they go to school and everyone else has it.
I know. But although schools now are cracking down on them too. So hopefully we can all get together on this.
This is for you. We're gonna spring forward and look at some good stuff. This year, we made some major strides in this country, David.
Yes,
and I mean, look at this. This is like crime. Crime is down significantly. The drug overdoses are plunging. Yeah. I mean, what do you attribute all that to?
First of all, people realize what works. We knew what worked back in the 1990s when Giuliani came as mayor to New York. He turned this city around. I moved to the city in 1980, so I saw the worst of it, and I saw it get better. And the way to get it's not rocket science. You make it difficult, if not impossible, to do a crime. You add punishment to those who do crimes, and you focus your efforts on the innocent. You focus your efforts on protect the innocent. People are beginning to get to the point where they understand that now. Although, having said that, we just elected a cop-hating Marxist to be mayor of New York. Thankfully, he's keeping Jessica Tisch, who's a terrific police commissioner, in power. But I don't know. I think we're going to go through a rough patch in New York.
Yesterday, you were going to be on, and we cut you short, and I was going to ask you about AI. You had some interesting comments. You know, next year it's all about AI.
Yeah.
And there's this fear that at some point AI will surpass humans.
Yeah.
That we won't be needed. And you had some interesting comments and thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, AI and quantum computing algorithms basically will give us beyond human abilities. And so a lot of humans are saying, oh, this is going to make human contribution to GDP subpar or non-existent. And the only thing that I say is we will never be eclipsed by AI. And that's because in Genesis 2:7, it says God breathed the breath of life into man and created a living soul. So there is still something to be said about us as being created by God and being living beings with spirits, souls. And an AI algorithmic program will never take that away. So you can try to, get rid of the human race and run it by machines, but you're not going to be successful.
By the way, I love the spirituality here from all of us. I hope that could be something looking into 2026. But the bottom line, I look at Apple right now. I mean, I know it's a great company and it's a long-term hold, but at the same time, I think their customer service has gone down. I think there's this tendency to rely more on the AI method, on the complete technology method. And because of that, I think they're going to have some serious problems going into 26. Yeah. You got to focus on the human beings who can deal directly with the customers.
That's right.
And if you don't do that, I don't think you're going to have a success product.
Nothing like the human touch when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Rebecca, David, thank you both very much.
Absolutely. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Absolutely. All right, folks. It may be Wednesday, but we're going to talk about Monday. Monday is a stock that you may want to own. It's also a song by the Mamas and Papas. We'll be right back. I'll explain it all after the break.